Hi everybody, so welcome back now to part 2 of my how to create how-to videos, and the second part, as described in the first section, is how we edit the videos together. Now I'm sat here in the kitchen, it's a bit noisy, the boiler's going off and the dishwasher has just finished, so I hope you can hear me okay, but we'll give it a go anyway. So I'm sat here in the kitchen with my laptop, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through how I create the videos and create the story which we captured in the previous video. Now I'm using a Mac, and the software I'm using is Final Cut Pro 10. However, if you're on a Windows machine, Windows Movie Maker is very good, and if you're using a Mac you can use iMovie, both of which are free and they come pre-installed on your operating system, I believe. Double check that with Movie Maker, I'm pretty sure that is the case. For the purposes of what I'm doing today and what I'm going to show to you today, the software has similar methods in both iMovie and Movie Maker. There are some things in Final Cut Pro which are specific, but I do nothing extravagant, I do nothing over the top inside the software, so you too will be able to create a similar style video to what I'm going to produce today. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pull away from this camera and we're going to do a screenshot style video, and we're going to get into the software. So let's get onto the laptop. Okay guys, so let's have a look at our window here. This is my laptop which I have in front of you. Now in the top left hand corner I've got my libraries. Then next to it I've got the clips which I've got here. Next to that I've got the viewer. And over on the far right hand side I've got my inspector window, and the inspector window allows me to change some of the configurations or change some of the settings on some of the clips. Now in the bottom here we've got our timeline of our projects that we're going to build, and then on the bottom right hand corner we've got our effects browser where we can choose different effects and different items and assets to add into our project. So the very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create my new project. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click on File, New and Event. And this is an event which is going to contain multiple projects. So let's call this one my how-to guides. And then in my how-to guides I'm going to create a new project. And I'm going to call this one my wet locker fix. And as you can see, I've got my custom properties here. It's going to be in 1080p, it's going to be at 60 frames a second, and that's all I need to know about that one. So I've got my wet locker fix, and all I need to do now is add in my footage. So because I recorded it on my iPhone and because I have an iCloud account, all I need to do is click on the camera icon over here, scroll down to where my footage was recorded, and it was on the 15th of June, that's the last clip. If you remember, that was my outro, and I'm looking now for that one there. That is the time lapse, and that's beginning. So I'm going to click on all of those, drag those into my project here, and then I'm going to let the computer render all these files and create optimized media ready for me to start playing with and creating my story. Okay, so whilst we're importing our footage into our project at the moment, let's just go over a couple of ground rules. First of all, let's go over the kit which I've actually got here. Now obviously I discussed I've got a laptop and my Mac is sat here right in front of me, but there's a couple of other essential bits of kit which you should really utilise when you're doing the edit. The first of all is a good pair of headphones. It's good to just keep your headphones on so you can hear everything, because there's nothing worse than producing a project together and missing bits of audio or having audio which you don't like the sound of. So have a good pair of headphones when you're doing this. The second thing which I find essential is to have some external hard drives. My laptop obviously over a number of videos will fill up very quickly with some of this footage, so what I do is I have everything on external drives. That way that my laptop doesn't get clogged up with video clips and audio files and music and photos, etc. So I have everything meticulously archived on external hard drives. So if possible, use some external storage. You will quickly run out of space, trust me. Okay, so we've now finished importing. Let's get back over to the laptop and actually start building our video. Okay, so now the computer is finished importing all our media, and as you can see, we've got it all in our clips here ready for us to play with. Now you notice there that we've got a clip here which is highlighted in yellow, and basically what that means is this is selected clip. And as you can see, if I just move my cursor left and right, you can see what I'm doing here is I'm scrubbing backwards and forwards, and I'm using that marker there which is called the playhead, and I can move that backwards and forwards. If at any point I want to play something, I just hover over a particular point and I'm going to press the space bar, and to stop it, press the space bar again and it stops. That then gives us control over playing back our clips. Now the reason for this is we're going to trim this clip here down to something which is usable. Now I don't want to include all of this footage because you can see I'm just moving the camera around and having a bit of a natter with Tom at this point. So what I want to do is I want to find a good place, and I think it's here. Hi everybody, welcome back to another video. Absolutely. So what I want to do is I want to trim this footage down. So what I'm going to use is a keyboard shortcut for Final Cut Pro, which is I. And that sets an in point for us to trim this clip down. Hi everybody, welcome back to... which is great, and now I want to find where I want to leave. That's standard. So let me show you exactly what I've bought. So that's where I want to trim the other side of this clip. So I'm going to press O for out. Now what this does is, you can see now I've now got a small selection of this large clip which is called IMG 6091. I've now got a small part of this clip selected, and this is a perfect introduction to my story. So another shortcut which I'm going to press here is, now I've got that selected, I want to add it to my story down the bottom. So I'm going to press the letter E, and the letter E appends the clip to my storyline. So as I go through the rest of my footage, select a part, choose an in, an out, and then press E, it will just build up the storyline. And that's exactly what I'm going to do now. I'm going to go through all the clips, review all the clips, decide which ones I want to keep, which ones I don't, and trim each clip down and build a very basic storyline. It'll be very rough, but it'll build a very basic storyline. So I'm going to do that now, and this bit I'll be doing in super fast motion for you. Okay, so I've now added all my clips together. We've produced a very basic and a very simple story together. It's very rough at the moment, and I've just gone through all the footage, and I've noticed that I've got a couple of problems. Now my first issue is when I start to talk about the kit which I'm about to use on the wet locker, and as you can see here, there is absolutely no visual footage anywhere on camera. For some reason I was showing what I purchased just off of camera, so this is a bit of a problem for me. Thankfully though, when I was there on the day, I did take some pictures of the kit which I was going to use. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the audio of that clip, and I'm going to put this on top of the video. Now down here on our timeline, imagine the footage that we have here. Imagine this as a layer. Everything on top of this layer is on top of the film, and everything underneath this layer is beneath that film. So if I add an image, which is this one here, and if I plop that right on top here, you'll see that this arrives right on top of the footage. And my laptop is playing silly sods today because I'm doing a screen grab, but you'll see that the image is on top of the footage, and that will be fine for the duration which I'm talking. Now the only thing I want to do is I want to tidy this up, so I'm going to move that a bit further back there, and I'm going to stretch it out so it takes up more of our timeline, like so. And I want to make it look a bit more attractive so it haven't got stuff in the background. So I'm going to crop this picture, and I'm going to click on Ken Burns, and this gives me a really smooth zooming in and zooming out effect. And as you can see, I've got a green box of where the footage will start and a red box of where it will end, and you can move these around as you see fit. But I think for the purposes of this demonstration, that will be fine. As I go through the timeline now, you'll see that it zooms in nicely and we've got ourselves some nice footage. Now the second problem I've got is when I'm actually fiddling around with the locker. What actually happens, well, let me show you what happens. When I plug the plug in, it actually starts to work. And I say something which I don't want to come out on the final film. You see this is our power outlet, and this is the problem that we're getting. Oh, bloody hell, it works now. So I don't want that to come out on the film because it doesn't make the film look particularly great. So what I want to do is I want to cut this this piece of film up and remove the words which I say there. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to zoom in onto my timeline here, and I'm just going to play. And as you can see, this is our power outlet, and this is the problem that we're getting. Just before I say it, I'm using my left and right arrow keys here to move backwards and forwards, and I think it's just about here. Oh, bloody hell. I say, oh, bloody hell. And what I want to do is I want to stop the footage just before the plug goes in, which is there. And I'm going to use another keyboard shortcut here, which is B, which gives me a blade. And you notice my cursor is now changed into a little red scalpel knife. And I'm going to cut the footage there. And as you can see, it's now separated it up. I'm going to play it forward. Bloody hell, it works now. But actually, it wouldn't allow, no, it's broken pillar. It won't actually allow. So I want to cut it where I say it won't actually allow, which is about there. I'm going to press A to give me back my cursor, highlight that footage and hit delete. And what that will give me is a almost. It won't actually allow plug to go in there very well. And okay, it's not smooth, it's not you know, it's not really well thought out, but I didn't want the potential of any bad language or any offence to be caused there. I know I'm only saying oh bloody hell, but also it weakens the message which I have in this story, which is that I have a socket which is broken. I mean, it was broken, so you know that's besides the point. Now the third problem I have is when I'm actually videoing all of this, you can see that it's a very long period of time that I'm actually undoing those screws. So here's another thing I'm going to do. Because I mentioned before that I can use time lapses to, you know, give the appearance of time going by, I could easily put my time lapse in here to show that the progression of time is going on whilst I'm undoing 4 screws. But there's another trick which I'm going to use here, and that is very simply to speed the footage up. So I'm going to go up to the point where I finish saying what I'm going to do. Is undo those 4 screws. Which is there. And what I do again is I'm going to press B for the blade, and I'm going to cut the footage there, and I'm going to scroll along to when I've got the footage undone, so I've got the plug out. So once you undo, which is there, and I'm going to hit the blade button again just before I start talking, hit A, highlight this piece of footage here, which as you can see it's quite long, and I go up to the retiming icon here, which lets me just go to fast, and I'm just going to make it 4 times fast, and it's compressed it right down. In fact, I think I may want to make it a bit faster than that, so I can manually stretch or compress the footage here. And the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put the volume down on this as well, and what that's going to allow me to do is put some music in. I'm going to put some music on this footage, so let's just see. That's good enough. So that's the third issue resolved. Now generally when I'm making these videos I try to keep to a 10-minute rule. There's no hard and fast time limit that you need to stick to, but I have found that over time people watch a 10-minute clip, they don't watch a half-hour clip. I've got half-hour clips on there. This video, by the way, will not be 10 minutes, I don't think. This is going to be 20 minutes something by the time I'm finished. So I'm just going to go through the footage again and trim and get everything sorted out. And the next step I'm going to do is add some music. I thought it'd be quite nice that when we go into that that part of the film where I undo the screws quite quickly, I thought it'd be quite nice, because there's no other sound happening, I want to add some music at that point. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this arrow here, which is import media, and I'm going to go onto my external drive, and I'm going to click on music, and I'm going to find some nice music in here, and I've got a track there which I've got in mind for this. Import it, and this is my music here. So what I want to do is I want to add this music in right at the point where I'm undoing the 4 screws. And remember I said that everything is layers. Well, I want the music to go underneath the music, at the, underneath the audio on the film here. So that's why I've put it at the bottom there. So as you can see here, as we're looking at the layers, we've got pictures on top, we've got footage underneath, and then we've got our music and our background music underneath. So let's have a listen and see if that music fits in with what we're doing. Undo those 4 screws. Yeah, that's pretty good. But there's going to be a problem here, because that music is quite loud and it's going to obscure what I'm saying. So there's a couple of things I need to do to this audio in order to make it fit better. So you can't hear me at all there. So there's a couple of things we need to do. So first of all, let's put the volume up on the audio which I'm talking to make it a little bit more punchy. And the second thing I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight the music. And there's another keyboard shortcut here. It's called the range button, and that's R. So I'm going to click on the range button here, and I'm going to select it from that point onwards, just a little bit before it. And I'm going to pull the volume down. And you can see here what it's done is it created a little curved line here and a blob, and that's given me 2 points where the volume starts and where the volume change ends. So I want to bring that up just about there, and I want to make it fairly snappy, so I'm just going to pull it back a little bit more. We'll just have a listen to see whether that works. And that works really well for me. There might be a little bit of adjustment I need to make in this, but that works really well, I think. And that's it. That's the audio sorted out, and I'm pretty happy with that. So let's have a look at our project again. We've got music. It doesn't last the entire duration of the video, but then to be honest with you, I don't want it to. And that just looks really, really tidy. So I'm just going to zoom out of our project here, and our project lasts for 11 minutes. It's okay. I might go and see if I can trim some more out of it to see what I can reduce it down so I can get under 10 minutes. Okay, so the only thing I want to do now is I want to add in my introduction and my outgoing thing, which I have on all my videos, and that's very straightforward, that's very simple. I just need to open up another library, which is my global assets. This is just a library full of stuff which I keep all together that I can just put on my videos as and when I need to. So I'm just going to drag and drop that one down to the introduction here. So let's just zoom in. To about there. And we're going to add a transition. And a transition is just a really neat way of going between 2 video clips. So I've got a transition here, and the transition I use for this one is light and bloom. That's the transition it gives me. So it just goes in between. I'm dragging and dropping it between the 2. It gives me a nice bloom effect, which is perfect. Let's turn the volume up. And then finally, I just want to add my outro, which has got all my social media icons in it and a link to a previous clip. So I'm just going to add that in there, and again I have a transition between those 2, and this is a dissolve, and what I do is I have a fade to color which is just black, and it's going to moan about that transition because I'm talking right up until the end, and it doesn't like to create that transitions. So there we go, very simply, that's our transition and our outro made. Now, the nice thing about what I did on the day, if you remember, we recorded a time lapse of the clouds going by, and I think I'd really like to use that in here. So what I can do is I can double click on this footage and I can actually add my time lapse footage which I created on the day, which is this one here, and I think I'm going to add that into this footage here. Now this has got no sound, you see, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave the previous video clip there, and I'm just going to remove the audio track from that previous clip, remove the visual, keep the audio, and that's going to be very nice. And the only thing I want to do is I just want to add an effect to this. I want to blur this so it doesn't detract away from the other information on the screen, otherwise it makes it a bit too busy. And there we go, that should now be a really nice blurred time lapse in the background for our outro card. Now it's going to be a bit blocky at the moment because my computer is, as you can see, I've got the spinning pizza wheel. Which is great. So that's it, that's the project all done now. So let's zoom out, and before we upload it, we're just going to run through this project all over again and make sure that I'm entirely happy with how it looks. And that's what I'm going to do now. Okay, and there we go. So that's the end of the editing process. It's now just uploading to YouTube as we speak. And I hope this video has been of use. Now, there's been terminology I've used, there's been things I've talked about which may not make sense to you and may not be relevant for you and your software. However, I stand by what I say, that iMovie for Mac and Movie Maker for Windows is perfectly adequate for any needs of creating simple videos like this. I've done nothing special. And this is all self-taught, and I'm sure there'll be people out there that say, well, you can do it differently and you can do it far better and far quicker. But to be absolutely honest with you, it's taken me 50 minutes to put this one together. That includes setting up all of this to record it as well. And my laptop has been playing up silly sods tonight because I've been doing the screen grabs and videoing the whole screen whilst editing as well. So it has taken slightly longer, but generally speaking, it takes me about half an hour to 45 minutes to just bang one of these clips together. The point is, the more you do it, the quicker you get, the slicker you get. And that's certainly the case with me. So I hope it's been of use to you. Any questions, please feel free to ask below. I'm sure I can help you. I am by no means an expert on this. This is all self-taught, and I still think I'm not particularly good at it. Although other people tell me that they're brilliant and they're fantastic. I, on the other hand, see areas where I've made mistakes and I could improve it. But you know, that's mankind, isn't it? To always keep seeking perfection, and that's exactly what I'm trying to do. So I hope it's been of use to you. That's the end of the second part today, and hopefully it's the end of how to create these videos. Any questions, please feel free to ask, and we'll see you when normal service resumes on a caravan or holiday based topic. So until the next one, guys, I'll speak to you again soon. Take care, bye bye.